NBA totals for Sunday, November 20th. We got 3 games on the card today. Be sure to check out SBR. Look for the sportsbook reviews. Look for the sign-up bonuses as well. We have all the sportsbooks there. Also, check out sportsbooks that we do not want you to join that have some really bad reviews. So that's an important aspect of the website. And of course, we got all the numbers and all the odds. So be sure to check out SBR. Let's jump into it. Right now, we're sitting at 58-50. Good day yesterday. Let's see if we can carry it over here to Sunday. First game up we got is Portland. And Brooklyn, 222.5 set by oddsmakers. I'm going to go under. And I know you might think I'm crazy, and I don't want to say it's a gut feeling, but it kind of is on this game because statistically, this game should be 230. You got Portland averaging almost 107 points per game, and you got Brooklyn averaging over 106 points per game. They rank 10th and 11th in scoring. Then you got Brooklyn and Portland allowing 112 and 112.4 points respectively, ranking 28th and 29th in the league in scoring defense. Terrible. Brooklyn has been getting up and down like absolutely crazy, and they've been allowing attempts off the charts, allowing almost 92 attempts per game. That ranks dead last in the league. That is a ton of attempts. Then you got Portland not far behind at all, actually, because they rank just behind them, allowing 89.7 attempts per game. They both push tempo. However, the guts of my play here, that first of all, 222, that's a lot. They're going to have to score. And they both have shown the capability to do it. However, Portland can defend the three decently well. Brooklyn, they shoot more threes than anybody, I think. No, they're number 2. That would be behind Houston, I believe. But defensively, Portland allows opponents to shoot just 33.6% from distance. That ranks 9th in the league. That's not bad. And then you got Brooklyn allowing opponents to shoot from distance just 35%. Not great. Ranks in the bottom half, but it ranks 20th. So it's not horrible. It's not horrible. Definitely could be a lot better. For me, when I look at this game, I look at three teams. I look at 2 teams in their last 3 games that have lost pretty bad. Brooklyn allowing over 120 points per game. Obviously, something's not working. Brooklyn, and they're really thin. They're not very good. Portland, they're allowing, surprisingly so, they've allowed over 110 points their last 3 games, and over 120 to Houston. Terry Stotts is probably going to chew his team out and let him know, you guys have got to step up and play better defense. I think they do that tonight. I think they're going to defend the perimeter. I think they're going to hit the boards, and I think they're going to go ahead and get enough stops against Brooklyn. And Brooklyn with Kenny Atkinson, obviously they've got to play some better defense. I think they do so tonight. Looking at these teams as well, Brooklyn's last 3 games, they played the Clippers, one of the hottest teams in the NBA, the Lakers, who've been phenomenal, and then Oklahoma City, 3 fast teams. Well, the Clippers will push tempo. If you allow them to, they'll go, but they're mostly a defensive team, okay? But against Brooklyn, they just had them completely overmatched. I mean, they scored a ton against them in the first half. Then Portland, look at their team. Chicago, decently fast team, and they're kind of like the Clippers. They'll go fast if you allow them to, but they've been playing a lot better defense this year. But they're the other 2, Houston and New Orleans, 2 really fast teams. So now we got these 2 teams matching up after playing a few track meets. I think we're going to see a little better defensive effort, and for this to stay under that 222.5. Okay, big total on that one. Next one up, we got Utah and Denver, 197. I'm going to go under the total. Actually, I'm going under in all 3 games. I'll just tell you that right now. I'm going to go under the total, 197. Utah is coming off a bad loss to, well, not a bad loss. I mean, they lost 111 to 102. They've actually scored more this year than that most people probably anticipate. But still, you're talking about one of the lower scoring teams in the league that play great defense because they really control tempo. I mean, right now, they allow opponents just 93.2 points per game. That ranks first in the NBA. Denver's not great, allowing 108.2. That ranks 25th. Not good. But we're looking at the attempts here. You got a Utah team that gets up under 80 attempts per game. They rank first or last in the NBA, depending how you want to look at it, in attempts per game. They just don't get up a lot of shots. Now, Denver will allow tempo, allowing opponents to get up 89. But the other night, we saw that game versus Toronto, and we saw more of a defensive effort. Like I predicted, I had the under. Unfortunately, they went overtime, which ruined that. But they could play some defense. Malone's a good coach. Quinn Snyder, he's got a game plan for this Utah team, and I think they're going to get back to it tonight as they travel to Denver, as opposed to what we saw last night versus Houston. Some decent defensive statistics across the board. You got Utah, they're allowing opponents to shoot 43.3% from the field. That's really good. Now, Denver is not that great, ranking towards the bottom league in opponent shooting percentage. However, they are allowing opponents to shoot just 32.4% from distance. That ranks third in the league. So they're defending the perimeter well. They also rank second in opponent total rebounds per game, so they're hitting the boards. I like for this to stay under the total. I think it's going to be a little bit more of a grind tonight. Utah's going to get back and play some really tough defense. Denver's so-so. I really don't have a good gauge on them so far this year. But we'll see as they progress. I mean, they've only won one in their last 3 games. So, all right, next one up, we got Toronto and Sacramento. This last game again, I'm going under, and this one put me off a little bit because you got 209.5 set by oddsmakers. Let's take a look at Sacramento's last 4 games. They allowed the Lakers over 100 points. They allowed Portland over 120. They allowed San Antonio over 110, and the Clippers over 120. And that is not Dave Yeager. That is awful. That just can't happen. You got Sacramento right now, they're allowing 105.5 points per game. That's not that great. Toronto's allowing 104.3 points per game. That's not great. That ranks 19th and 16th in the league, respectively. I'm so surprised at how bad Sacramento has been defensively. Yeager was just talking recently about going smaller. I don't know if that's the answer. They need to, they're still controlling tempo like crazy. They're allowing opponents to get up just 80.7 attempts per game. That ranks 5th in the league. But conversely, they're allowing opponents to shoot almost 47%, which ranks in the bottom 5 of the league. Then you got their attempts. They're getting up 81.8 attempts per game, but they're only shooting 44.8% from the field, which ranks 15th in the league, right in the middle. I really feel like Sacramento tonight is going to play better defense against a Toronto team that we saw the other night as starting to play at a more reasonable pace as we saw when they played Denver. Toronto much better defensively than what we've seen so far. On the season, they've been good defending the perimeter, allowing opponents to shoot 33.5% from distance. That's not bad. Overall, though, they're allowing opponents to shoot 45% from the field. They rank about the middle of the league of that. And that's just not Casey, and that's not this team, and that's not their identity. And I think they get back to that tonight against a Sacramento team that will go at a slower pace, that will grind things out. I'll be really surprised if this gets up and down the floor. And I think both these teams, they're defensive-minded first teams. I could see why it's 209.5. You got Toronto averaging 108.2 points per game. They're ranking 7th in the league. And Sacramento is averaging 101.4. So it makes sense for it to be so high, but I just don't see them getting there tonight. I think we're going to see a much better defensive game. And again, like I mentioned the other night when I said if that Toronto game versus Denver, if that goes over, I need to reassess Toronto. Well, it didn't go over. It went to overtime, which got the over. But for the most part, that was more of a defensive game, more of what I thought we'd see from Toronto. But if this one goes over here, I'm going to have to reassess not only Toronto, but Sacramento as well. One quick note, look at Toronto. Their last 3 games, they allowed... Well, they played Cleveland and Golden State, so they get a flyer for that. They allowed over 120 points to both of them. They went up and down with Golden State. And then at Denver, that was overtime. That would have been an under. But Sacramento, they've been terrible. I mean, I already mentioned how many points have been allowed. But in their defense, they played the Clippers, the Spurs, at Portland, never an easy place to play, and a very, very underrated Lakers team. So I think tonight we're going to see a better defensive game. And that's it. Okay, so I'm going to go into that total with Toronto and Sacramento. Some of these, sometimes these teams and these coaches, they make me mad because they're doing stuff that they shouldn't be doing, and and so it throws off the numbers in my opinion, and it makes my job more difficult. But that's okay. That's all right. That's part of trying to make a good assessment. So like when that Portland and Brooklyn game, statistically I don't really have a great reason, just for the fact that Kenny Atkinson and Terry Stotts are better coaches than what we've seen, and I think they're both going to focus on the defensive end tonight. So that's my assessment on that. Play it, fade it, whatever you want to do. But we are 58-50, so we're doing okay. I digress. Off my soapbox. Here we go. Quick recap. Portland and Brooklyn under the 225.5. Excuse me, 222.5. Utah, Denver under the 197, and Toronto, Sacramento under the 209.5. Those are my 3 picks for the day on the totals. Be sure to check out SBR, and I wish you luck on your picks today.
Go to SBRodds.com. Browse, compare, and shop live odds available at top online sportsbooks.